So here you can sort of see the problem I'm dealing with. I've got a curved bottom and a curved top that needs to be joined to this basket of sorts to create the back of the chair. And so I need to figure out a way to use dominoes to be able to do this. So these guys are going to be very easy to do because I've got a flat reference surface. And it's not particularly difficult to take the domino machine and just come in here and put a little mortise in the exact center of these guys. But then what I have to do is I have to be able to drill the mortises in this piece of this curved stock so that it's exactly lined up with this with this surface. So in other words, I've got a curve and I've got to find a way to hold the domino machine in exactly the right orientation so that I'm going to be able to cut the corresponding mortises into both this piece as well as into this piece. So this is my master template that all these curves are based on. And I use this to make the glue-up forms and the various jigs and fixtures I needed to assemble and to cut mortises and to cut the pieces at exactly the right angles. So this is the master, and I've already used this master to create this this surface over here, this curved surface that corresponds exactly to one of these guys. So now what I've got to do is I've got to find a way to figure out some way to get a horizontal plane out here so that I can set the base of the domino machine on that and have it exactly the right height so that I hit the center of this each time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this master template and I'm going to go ahead and make myself another piece of 3/4 inch MDF that exactly matches this. And this is okay. So I've made myself in the master template another piece that's exactly the same as this, and I'm going to take it and use a couple of clamps just to make sure it stays still and doesn't jiggle around on me. That's probably all I need. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my curved back, I'm going to lay it across the jig, and I know that I need to have this about 1 11/16 away from the end, so I'm going to position it about like so. It's not super critical at this point. And what I need to do now is I need to take this line and somehow transfer it down to here. So I'm just going to take my little handy square and I'm going to set it to some arbitrary disc plane that I'll then go ahead and sand away. So there's one point. Let's turn it around so that it's So now that I've got these little lines established, it's just a simple matter of taking my ruler, lining it carefully up, like so, and drawing a line. There's one. Okay, so now these lines represent a flat surface on which I can set my domino machine and establish a nice flat reference. So I'm going to take this now over to the belt sander. I might actually take it to the bandsaw first and knock off some of this extra wood, and then I'm going to take it to my stationary belt sander and I'm going to actually flatten it to the line on each one of these. Okay, so now I'm going to use the stationary belt sander to give myself some flat planes here. Now the basic idea is that this is going to fit on here, like so, and all I've got to do is build this out so I've got a wide enough base to accommodate the size of the Domino machine. So I have here 3 more blanks, and I'm going to take this and replicate this pattern using the bandsaw to cut it out, pattern making bit to make these all identical. And when I'm finished, I'm going to essentially create a block with these planes on it that I can attach to here to get my flat reference. So I'm going to go off and do that. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. This is my master, the one I'm going to actually replicate everybody off of. And I'm just going to temporarily use some brads to hold this together, making sure I've got it well aligned while I run it through the pattern bit on the router table. Then I'm going to come back after I get these all together, and I'm going to actually use some screws to hold it together permanently. It's a little bit dangerous trying to do something like this without a starting pin, so I'll use the starting pin to ease into the work and flush this up. Just take my next one. This will not be my pattern, and I'll basically do the same thing. So now, I hope you can see that I've created these 1, 2, 3, 4 planes. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some screws in this to kind of make sure it's going to stay together, because it's just being held with brads. So I'll put some long screws in there, and then I'm going to also use a Forstner bit to drill down into this thing a ways so that I can fasten it to my master curve template with some screws and hold it in place. Alright, so let's talk about the Domino machine for a minute. This I happen to know is from the plate, from the floor of the machine to the center of the bit is 10 millimeters. And the material that I've created for my backs happens to be 20 millimeters. So I want to put a Domino mortise basically right in the center of this, which means that I want that center line to be about 10 millimeters up from the bottom of this curve. So here is the fixture I just made, and this is where the curve is going to be resting ultimately right here. So if I can take this surface, this flat surface, and get it just even with the top of my fixture and fasten it down, when I put the domino on the machine, it's going to be just about 10 millimeters up from the bottom of the curve, which should be perfect. So I've fastened these all together. I've used my Forstner bit on the drill press to drill a couple of holes in here to kind of cut back on some of the material that. And now I'm going to position this by eye, and I'm trying to get the center of each of these flats so it's just touching the curve as best I can. So there, just touching. Voila. So there I have it. So now I've got some flat surfaces. I can just figure out a way to attach this curve onto here. And now I should be able to take my domino machine. I got a flat spot to sit it, line it up to my mark, and cut my domino. Okay, so here we are. I've got the fixture mounted on a piece of MDF, and I found an old piece of 4x4 out in the barn and affixed that to a mounting plate and put a couple of big old clamps on here. And now's the moment of truth. Let's see how this thing works. So, okay, so here's the top and here's the bottom, and I'll point out a couple of things. I very, very carefully laid out where I want the mortises to go, and I indicate with a little circle here which mortise is going to be the tight mortise and which one is going to be the loose mortise. If you're familiar with the domino machine, it has the ability to give you a little slop in the size of the mortise that it cuts. And so when you have a lot of mortises like this that have to line up really accurately, you kind of make one your reference mortise, and then the others you make a little bit wider so that you can actually get it fit. And as long as the two reference mortises are precisely lined up, everything else has to line up as well. So you'll see how that works in a second. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this workpiece on the fixture very carefully, hold it down, back it down with the clamps, and grab my domino machine. Hopefully I won't knock the camera over. And I'm going to start. The machine is already set to the narrow mortise, so I'm going to cut that one first. And it sits right on the flat. I'm going to really be careful to nail this one, because this one is really going to be establishing squareness for the entire chair back. So it's really important that I get it precise. I'm going to widen the mortises and cut the rest of them. Now you should be able to see that the fixture did its job. Each of these mortises is cut flat relative to each of the surfaces that I've built into the fixture. And so now I'm going to go ahead and cut the bottom part of the chair seat or back, and then we'll put it all together and see how it works. The reference mortise now is on this side, so I have to be cognizant of that when I grab the machine and make sure I've got it set in the right position. So I'm going to start over here because the machine's already set to the wider mortise. Once again, I got that last one as accurately as I possibly could because that's the one that's going to kind of establish the reference point for it. Here's my my chair back that's been glued up, and it's been the mortises have been cut in here and here, and now the object is for me to get this attached to here and this attached to here, so that all of my curves work out just fine. So I'm going to be doing a number of dry fits as I go through the process of doing the final layout and assembly of the chairs. So I'm going to definitely go ahead and take a little bit off of each of these domino biscuits because I don't want to have to fight them, and they're going to go in and out a couple of times. So I'm going to knock some of that off. The whole idea behind a fixture is, in woodworking or any kind of factory work or whatever, the job of a fixture is to take the human element out of the accuracy equation. So in other words, you try to design the fixture in such a way that, in spite of how hard they might try, the human being can't screw it up. So let's pop some of these in. They're going a lot easier if you take that little side off. Okay. So this is my narrow mortise. These are wider, so I've got to get this one started just right. Get the others kind of lined up. And voila. We'll do the same thing for the top. Okay, this guy goes in there. And now it's just a matter of finessing it. It's very close. I mean, there's a little bit of, it is wood after all. But there we have it. So that's how you do this operation. So now I've got these guys lined up just perfectly. A little bit of sanding and rounding and so on and so forth, and a little more layout work, and this will be ready to be put into a chair back.